Hi and welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to be talking about overwhelm and how to avoid it when you're running a community interest company. It's a very exciting time. Your mind is going to be buzzing with different ideas of all these different projects and things you can do, and it is limitless. It's limitless how much you can earn. It's limitless of how much you can achieve impact wise in your community, about all these different things you can do, and of course that inevitably could become overwhelming. So I'm going to talk about how I manage my overwhelm, how I try to prioritize things. So I'm going to give you my top 4 tips of how I manage my overwhelm and manage to stay focused, productive, and how I've managed to achieve so much success because of this. So before I jump into that, please hit the subscribe button so you can stay subscribed to everything to do with community interest companies, social enterprises, grant funding, and all the other tips and tricks that I give on this channel. So that aside, I do want to first of all mention that I do have what I'm suspected and I'm waiting for a diagnosis for at the moment, ADHD. So I know I'm dyslexic, and that's always been something I've known, and I strongly suspect I am ADHD. Now the reason why I mention this is because many of you are also neurodiverse, and many of you will also, when you're starting your CIC, be kind of really overexcited about how much you can achieve in all the different projects you could be doing. So it's particularly important for us, although I do think this applies to everybody, but I think it's particularly important of us that we do put in some strategies to try to manage ourselves so we don't become overwhelmed and burnt out. So over the last 10 years, as you've gathered from this channel, I've done so many different projects. I love running a variety of projects. I get grant funding for lots of little projects. Some people prefer to just get the one lot of grant funding, like a bigger pot, and just do the one thing the whole time. And if that's your thing, that's cool. But me personally, I love to run loads of different things. And really either way, like I think running your own business, starting your own business is really exciting, and it just creates so much excitement that it makes your brain buzz with all these different ideas. And it can be exhausting. Running projects is exhausting. Running events is exhausting. Those of you who will now be doing, if maybe you are active now doing workshops, maybe presenting events, you'll know that when you have those times where you're doing those outputs, it's really draining. There's so many things you have to think of. You're doing social media, you're doing the delivery, you're managing maybe staff and volunteers, you're gaining feedback and evidence for your project for the grant funders. It's like all these different things you've got to think about, and it can become really exhausting. And you're also quite mindful of what projects you're going to be doing next. And your brain is just going, and maybe if you're like me, you start a project and then actually become less interested in it because you've already thought of another idea. And that could be a problem that I have to manage, because sometimes, I'm really excited at the point where I'm writing the application, get my funding, and then I soon kind of fizzle out and I'm already thinking ahead to the next project. So I've had to develop different strategies to kind of manage this. So of course it can be a good thing to be buzzing with all these ideas and creativities, and it's really important that we allot in some time that we can sort of dream up all these projects. So my tip number 1 is kind of allow for some creative flow, take some time to be thinking about new projects and ideas, and almost have a diary that's like a dream book that you're just basically just dumping down all these ideas and things. So that's a great thing to do. So do come up with those future projects, all those ideas that you've got going on, of all this potential that you could create. Just dump it down in a diary, allot that time in your week where, some of my best ideas come to me when I'm out walking or swimming. So, those are some really good times that I give to myself, a sort of self-love time. And those can be a great time for me to come up with new ideas. Holidays are also great for that. So number 1 is just allot that time to being creative. You don't want it to spill over, so you're constantly thinking on a daily basis or in your evenings or on your weekends of all these new ideas. Kind of schedule it into allotted time. So you've got your dreaming time, your project planning time, your time to just be really creative, and then you leave the rest to other focuses. So number 2 is the focused time. So number 2, so once you've got your time scheduled where you've got your dreaming time, then you've got to schedule, number 2, your focused time. So this is your productive focused time. So you need to be lotting, and of course using planners and journals and diaries are really good for this. So you want to be allotting time to a to-do list, a very productive amount of time. If I didn't have a to-do list, if I didn't have a focus of what I'm doing each week, like I have like a week focus and a month focus and things like that, and then I have what I'm doing each day. If I didn't focus like that, I wouldn't be productive, okay? So it's really important to be productive, that you actually allot time to tasks that need to be done, tasks that will really move you on for that really important work. So focus your energies on the most important tasks, and don't let all that dreaming time come in and spill over to distract you. Don't distract yourself with your phone. Don't distract yourself with other, I know it's difficult if you're working at home, you've got family pressures and stuff, but make sure you allot some time to those focused, important tasks. Number 3 is planning ahead. So basically what I do, so what you've got your dreaming book and then you've got your focus time. So what you want to do is make sure that you plan way ahead. So for instance, I've got all these big ideas to like write a book and do a TED talk and all these sorts of things. But I know that's not going to happen now. So it's really important to just be patient and plan that stuff for the future. You're not going to achieve everything in your year 1, 2 of, conceptualizing, creating a company. You're not going to be able to achieve everything then. And you kind of want to set your ducks up, as they say. So think about, okay, so, you've got your dreaming book, you've got all these things that you're planning to do in the future, like for me, like I said, a book and stuff. So what I've done is thought, okay, well, I'm not going to start writing that book this year, am I? So that's something that I might do next year. So you allot these things to future plans. So you actually just scale your ducks up. So I think, okay, this year I'm just going to be working hard. I've got my own CIC and then I'm helping other people's CICs at the moment. So I'm just going to see what happens in a year from now. Where will that lead? How much will I have learnt along that journey? And then I know that next year I'm going to be in a really good position to write that book or do those public talks. But this year is just the doing. It's just going to be getting out there, talking to people, kind of coining my craft, as they say, and working out all these things and learning from stuff. So, and then next year, that's when I'll execute. So planning ahead, so get yourself like a 2-year, 5-year, all these types of targets. And then number 4 is, of course, the big one, which we all know, which is about life balance. So this can be hard when you are, especially a lot of you are working still, you're creating a new CIC, and you've probably got family stuff going on, you may have health issues. So you've got all these different things, going on. So it's really important that we, of course, allot some time to ourselves for just for our, literally for ourselves, for us to spend time with children, for us to spend time with our partner, to have a date night every week for our relationship, to schedule in those holidays, the family holidays, create that time, whether it be, to go and see your mum, for a lunch once a week or whatever that is. So make sure you schedule your time to actually have time for yourself, for exercise. I actually find that in a way it beats overwhelm if you have a really good exercise routine. So I've gone back to my personal trainer now. So I'm doing 3 personal training sessions a week. I also walk my dog every day, which is obviously a good exercise. So those are sort of my exercise routines. So in the morning I have my small dog walk, after work, or sometimes at lunchtime, depending. I might have a larger dog walk where I'll go down to like my local woods or the beach. And having that headspace and getting that exercise actually helps just to kind of decompress and relax a bit. Now, I am not perfect at all when it comes to work-life balance. There are times when I absolutely get overwhelmed. So I'm not sitting here saying I've got the best model, because that's something I'm still working on myself. Even 10 years into all this CIC stuff, I'm still not quite where I want to be. I think long term, I always talk about, don't I, having things automated and kind of taking more time back for yourself. And that should be our goal running our CICs and our social enterprises, is that we're working towards working less, working smarter for less amount of time and more money. And that more money gives us obviously more freedom, so we can have that time and so we can enjoy our time off, having holidays or having security where we're able to buy bigger houses so we can enjoy our lives a bit more. So I'm still working towards those goals as well. I'm about to move house in the next few months, so I'm hoping that will be a big change. I want to look towards renting some property. I've already done that already a little bit, but I want to expand that. So I've got all these goals as well, and you know, I'm hoping that my end goal is going to be that I'm going to have more time to myself. I would love to have more time for art. I just don't have enough at all for art, so I'd love to gain that back, and you know, just to be able to, on a sunny day, be able to do what you want. To be able to, you know, I should be able to call up my retired mum and be like, you know, do you want to go out for the day? I mean, that would be my dream. At the moment, you know, I'm not able to do that anywhere near as much as I would like. So yes, that's my last tip, is just work on your work-life balance. That's something that just appears to be something that we all have to work on almost permanently until we retire. So I'm still working on that, and I'm sure you are too. So those are my tips to avoid overwhelm. I hope that was useful, and I know lots of you have been struggling with this, but just remember, you're on the right track. Having a community interest company is an incredible vehicle to designing your own life. And I think that ultimately, even though it's very overwhelming in the beginning, once you get going and once you actually get started and you get this success through and you get these grants in, you can start to breathe and hopefully become less overwhelmed.